Okay, hey guys, I know I haven't made a video in a very long time. Charlie Wilson, Charlie Tries. This is going to be one of those serious videos, and I haven't really made a video about it yet, so I figured I'd explain. Uh, this is more of an advice kind of thing, and it's more along the lines of another bad thing that happened in my past. But also a good thing at the same time, and it was kind of a wake-up call. I want to talk about my one and only, by the way, DUI. It's a serious thing. It's not something I'm proud of, and this is for me to give advice and to vent about it. This happened probably a few years ago. And this was probably a few years after I got out of the Navy, and right before, like literally a day before I came to Arizona. The thing is, it was a good thing and a bad thing at the same time. Probably one of the worst days of my entire life, besides from being stranded on the side of the road in Iraq for 16 hours. Worst night of my entire life. It's hard to decide where to start with the story, but it was my last day in California. I was already drinking earlier with some of my postal friends at the post office. It was kind of a send-off to me, and we were drinking like right down the road from my house. So what happened was, we were at Buffalo Wild Wings. I was drinking probably not even a block away from my house. So we're drinking, and they paid my tab for me, which was really nice of them. I drove, which I shouldn't have. I drove to my house. I'm at my house. I get into my house, and I still have a little bit more packing to do before I leave the very next day to Arizona, because I was transferring with the Postal Service. I was a mail carrier. This is probably like 10 minutes after I get into the house. A girl texts me. She says her and her friends are hanging out at the bar down in Oxnard Shores. I believe it was the Rudder Room. It might have been the Rudder Room, or I can't really remember the name of the bar. It might have been Rudder Room, but I'm not sure. If you're from Oxnard, you probably know. So I'm like, shit. I text her back. I say, well, it's my last night, and I've already been drinking. I don't think I should go down there. And she's like, well, we'll be here if you want to come. So I thought about it for about half an hour. I'm like, all right, I think I'm sober enough. Probably wasn't. So I drive down, make it there safe. Fine, safe, all good and dandy. Park my car, get out, and then they show up about 10 minutes later. We start taking shots, just shots upon shots upon shots, and eventually I realize I'm way too drunk. And I've already got a lot of my things that I'm taking the next day to Arizona in my car, and I was worried. And I was like, well, if I leave it here, I don't want to get it broken into. And I made the dumbest decision of my life. I got in that car, I put in the keys, and drove away. I get about 2 blocks down the road, and I'm still by the beach, and the Whale's Tail, if you know anything about Oxnard, is right in front of me, and I park on the side of the road. I stop because I realize I'm too drunk. You're doing this thing, not good. So I start texting a friend, and I say, hey, I'm too drunk. I'm in the middle of texting saying I'm too drunk. Maybe, do you think you can come pick me up? And at that moment, cop car comes right behind me, shines his light in my window, spotlight, gets on the intercom and says, hey, what are you doing? I point at my phone. I say, well, I'm texting. It's illegal to text and drive in California. And then he says over the intercom, move it along. All right. So I started the engine again and drive down the road. If I had said I was drunk, it's still illegal, and I still would have gotten probably convicted of a DUI. So I drive along, and then about a block down the road, guy pulls me over, and it's Dunskies. I already told him I said I've been drinking all night. I was completely upfront and truthful with the guy, which my lawyer said I probably shouldn't have done. Probably should have remained silent, is what the lawyer told me, and that's a good piece of advice for anybody who's thinking about drinking and driving. If you do, let's say, cause I was smashed, I was hammered, I knew I was. The thing with if you're maybe like one beer over the limit, definitely don't say anything and get a lawyer. For me, I was dead to rights anyway. I was dead to rights. There's no way I would have gotten out of that. Probably should have remained silent though. Maybe the sentence would have been a little more lenient. So that's my advice to people who, if you're thinking about drinking and driving, get it, and you do, get a lawyer. Don't do it if you don't have to. Get a fucking Uber. That's my mistake. I'm stupid. I'm a moron. I'm an idiot. It's the dumbest decision of my life, but there was a silver lining. Probably the best thing that could have happened was that it freed me to be able to quit my job. Because I was depressed, I was angry, I was very upset, still reeling over my ex-girlfriend. I knew that job at the Postal Service, mail carrier, I mean, it's a secure job with the unions and everything, and it's a government job. It's great. And I still was allowed to keep it for another 6 months after my DUI. I just quit because I knew that job was going to end up killing me anyway. I was suicidal, thinking about killing myself. A lot of really bad things in my head at the time. It was the worst night of my life and probably the best night of my life at the same time. It was a wake-up call, and it allowed me to be able to do what I wanted to do, which was never to have a boss ever again. Now I do porn, just fun sometimes. Sometimes it's disgusting. I do cam modeling, which helps out a lot with the bills. I go to college now through the post 9/11 GI Bill. The one thing I will say that about Obama did well was enacting the post 9/11 GI Bill, because it gives you a basic housing for allowance, and it pays for your tuition and pays for all your books. Good shit. Also, it just allowed me just to be happy again. I probably, right when I got the job at the post office, I started falling into a deep depression. It was one of the shot at in Iraq, be it the Postal Service. Unless you really love it, I couldn't hack it. I did it for 3 years. I made regular about a year and a half in, and then the last year and a half was just god awful. Terrible bosses, terrible supervisors. Anyway, I've already made a video about the Postal Service. It depends on what kind of station. Decision. And I just thought I'd air that out and give people advice. If you're thinking about drinking and driving, please don't do it. It's really, really not worth it. Let me tell you what I went through. $5,000 in fines. Well, actually $4,000, and then on top of the alcohol DUI classes you have to go to. I did 9 months of DUI classes. That should tell you about the severity of the DUI. Surprised I was even conscious. So $4,000 in fines to the court. Then I had to pay my lawyer's fees, and then I had to pay the DUI class fees, probation, 3-year probation. unsupervised, so that's nice. I only have to send in a letter once a month. And then also Alcoholics Anonymous for about a month. All in all, it cost me in total probably $5,000 to $6,000. It ain't worth it, man. The $40 in Uber I probably would have paid would have totally made up for it. It's not fun. It's not nice. And I figured I'd come out and be truthful about it, because I'm very truthful and very open about my life now. I tell everybody what I'm going through and what I'm doing. I used to be very sheltered, very closed in, not wanting to open up to people because of my past with, my mother. My mother was mother and stepfather and my brother were all on crystal meth at one point. That's a shitty house to live in. I was in my room smoking weed and they were all on crystal meth yelling at each other, throwing shit. And then also, with the military, it's hard for me to open up, I've been still going to some counseling as of right now, and my counselor, she says probably, that's a big problem with your life right now, is you're not being open with everybody else and you're in your own way. And I agree with that. I am totally in my own way. I need to get out of my own way, and that's what I'm doing now. And I'm happy. Despite what's being said here today, I'm very happy with my life now. I don't have a boss anymore. I take what jobs I want. I work out every single day. I'm happy now. It's a good thing. I took a risk because I kind of had to. I was forced into taking a risk. I was like, well, do I want to stay at the post office and eventually commit suicide, which I figured that was going to happen at some point? Or do I want to actually go for my dreams, do something that makes you happy within a reasonable standard? It's like, okay, well, I think I could work this. And I eventually did 2 pornos, and I do cam modeling now, which actually pays more than the porn. Because if you don't know, if you do straight porn, you don't make that much money as a man. Cam modeling, on the other hand, if you work out every day and you're positive and nice, you can make some good money. It sucks at the time, and this is geared toward those people as well. If you've had a DUI and you're going through it right now, it gets better, man. It definitely gets better. You made a mistake. That's okay. We all make mistakes. It's absolutely fine. As long as you have like a supportive group around you. Lucky for me, my parents and my family was very supportive. They didn't pay for anything. I paid all the fines myself. I probably did borrow about $200 at one point from a family member, and out of the $5,000, I did it all myself. And I went through the. Also, I had 3 days work release. I had to go fly out to California to do that, so that cost me money as well. It's just, in the end, it's really not worth it, man. If you're thinking about drinking and driving, please don't do it. And especially tonight. It's a Saturday night. I'm staying in tonight. I'm gonna watch the UFC fight on Fox, and that's my plan. I'm not as reckless as I once was. And being in the military, people know if you're traveling. I was in the Navy, I was in the Seabees. You're traveling all over the place, and you're drinking a lot, and blah blah blah, and you're doing crazy shit every fucking day. And that adrenaline rush is really hard to match. So I think that's a big part of what my problem is, getting that rush. Now it's just the gym. I might have a drink every once in a while, but I don't go out as much. So it was a good wake-up call for me. What I'd say, if you're going through it right now, it sucks. And I went through moments where I thought that my life is over, but it's really not over. It's not over. Unless you took somebody's life while you had your DUI, it's not over. It's never ogre. I like that video, by the way. Look, this is just some advice, some friendly advice, and just to go through my experience with it. And all you see when you look online and when you have your first DUI or you have a DUI, it's I hope it's your only one. I mean, that could be forgiven. I met a guy in the alcohol classes who had 4 DUIs. He was there for his 4th DUI. He was working for Apple at the time. The guy was making 6 figures, and it ruined everything for him. And that was his 4th, and he got off easy. He got off real fucking easy. From the story he told me, he already had a bunch of money saved up. I mean, he was making 6 figures and everything else, working for Apple. And then what happened was his lawyer cost $15,000, and then there was another fee he had to pay that cost another $15,000. Where that $15,000 went, nobody knows. I can tell you where it probably went. Probably went to the judge, I'm assuming. It's the way he painted it. And he got 30 days in jail, and then 2 years probation. He got it better than I did. That's because he had the money to do it. 30 days in jail for your 4th DUI, not a bad fucking deal. Probably should have gone to prison. He was looking at 7 years in prison. I can't, at that point you should probably just get rid of your car. Just give up on the idea of driving. That was enough for enough of a wake-up call. My 1 DUI was enough of a wake-up call to just say, fuck it, that never again. That's the worst, most gut-wrenching experience of my entire life, besides from being in Iraq. But just some advice, just some friendly advice. Don't drink and drive. Get a designated driver, or Uber probably is the best solution for you. I use Uber all the time now. I have my license again, and I just don't even want to drive anymore, really. I walk and I'll ride my bike. No big deal. It's not a big deal. That's it. That's all I wanted to say, and I wanted to get that off my chest because I haven't really been able to. The only person I've really talked to about it in depth with is my father, and he was very understanding, and a lot of my friends have had DUIs. I was in the military. That shit's rampant in the military. Alcoholism and DUIs and all that shit. And even some of my high school friends, most of them have had DUIs, surprisingly. 3 of my friends and his brother, and one of my friend's brothers have had DUIs. I'm actually consider myself pretty lucky. Life has actually turned out for the better since I got my DUI. It was a wake-up call, and now I'm on the straight and narrow, and I actually like it. I like the porn stuff, and I like the webcam modeling, because the main thing I know I never liked a job. I've never had a job that I actually loved to do, and finally I have something where I'm like, oh, this is because I've had a boss. Every fucking job I've had, I hated my bosses, every single one of them. And I was like, oh, I need to be my own boss. That's what I need to do. I'm my own boss. I'm my own boss right now. I get to do whatever I want, and that's great. And that's what it's always been about. As long I'm not rich and I'm not like wealthy or anything, but I make the rent, I make the bills, and I'm just happier. It's like finally, this is what happiness is. I get to work out all day. I go on cam. I do my thing, and it's fun, man. It's fun. So that's my whole spiel. Thank you for indulging me. Yeah, it's fun stuff, and if you guys want me, I'll make a video about the webcam modeling thing. I'll give you guys some tips and pointers if you want. Later on, maybe tonight I'll make a video. I don't know, but I'm a lot happier now. I made a mistake. I feel bad about it. I always will feel bad about it. That's about it, and I just wanted to be open and honest about my past. And if you look at my past videos, I'm totally open. I'm an open book, and that's probably a big part of my probably a big part of my own personal therapy. Just be honest, you know. We've all gone through bad points in our life that we regret and that we want to fix. And when somebody, my last thing I'll leave you with, when somebody says no regrets, I want to slap that person in the face. I have lots of regrets, man. I wish I'd done a lot of things differently. And I'm only 31. I mean, shit. I wish I had done a lot of things different in my life. I wish I could take some things back, things I've said, things I've done, relationships I've fucked up, relationships that they've fucked up. You know, it sucks, and it's about just move on. You're not who you were. You're not who you were in the past. You're not who you were 2 years ago or even a month ago. You're not the same person. You change constantly. Your cells in your body are constantly reforming, and your brain is constantly changing. You're not the same person you were. Move on. That's the best advice I can give to somebody who's made a mistake. Move on. Move forward. Keep going. Don't quit. And that's it. That's all I got to say. So thank you guys for indulging me. Yeah, I guess the next video I'll make is about the webcam modeling, since we're being open and honest here. And I'll give you some pointers, and especially for straight males or males with questionable sexualities. I'll give you some advice on how to do the webcam. We'll talk about that in a different video, but I'll probably make one tonight about that. So thank you guys for indulging me. I really appreciate it. This has been a long video. So Charlie Wilson, Charlie Tries. Take it easy, everybody. And like I said, wow, if my computer's such a piece of shit. All right, move forward. Bye.